Hey, Marcus, thanks for chatting with me today. I would love for you to tell us a little bit about what you do with schools and your role at Ford. And if you could give a little bit of your history, and we just chatted earlier, and I love your philosophy on things. You're really a disruptor right now, at least in my opinion, for how the industry is focusing its time and energy. So how about you share all that goodness with us?
Well, I'm a huge disruptor. I've always been a disruptor.
Good.
Must be being an only child, and me and my mom, we were that's kind of how she raised me. But about 3 years ago, 3.5 years ago, in August 2018, I got on a plane on a Monday, and I flew to Dearborn, Michigan for a job. I had no idea what I was starting, to work with nobody I knew. And all I had done is met my boss like this through my interview, and I had no idea what I was going to. But I took a chance, and it's been the greatest experience of my life. My job is to build relationships with dealerships and schools so that my dealerships can grow their own technicians.
Grow your own.
So it's a very much a grow your own. So I help dealerships. Mainly my role is to work with the dealerships and get them into schools. And while there's a thought process that, oh, once you teach them how to fish, they'll be fine. I'm too anal retentive for that. That's not going to happen. Anyone who's been around the dealership world and education know that you're dealing with people who are very busy. So my job is to just ensure that they stay engaged, and that ultimately young people get a career out of something that they've been told, oh, you don't want to do that. And so my job is I break the mold. I break mom and dad's dreams down of their son or daughter becoming a doctor, and tell them, hey, I have technicians that are making living a better life than some doctors. And they're just like, it's amazing once you start to open students' eyes, because all we keep telling kids is you got to go to college. And that's nothing wrong. But I tell them you need education. Mm-hmm. And that looks differently for everybody. If you don't want to read 100 pages of Shakespeare and be in a class of 100 people, going off to your local university probably isn't what you want to do. If you don't mind working with your hands, you like being a problem solver, and you want to do something that's a little outside the box and create a career for yourself, I talk about being a technician.
Yeah.
And that is a huge difference in being a technician and a mechanic. I think that's the misconception.
All right. Tell us a little bit more about that.
So in the beginning, that was the thought process. Oh, you're a mechanic. You're a grease monkey. You're in that dark, dingy area. You get your hands dirty. You get real dirty. And with technology and how it's changed our vehicles, you cannot work on a vehicle without having a laptop open to diagnose the problem. And so now our what was a mechanic has now become a technician. Mm-hmm. And so we make sure that students understand, hey, your technical skills that you have, that you've learned from day one, those are huge. I tell them, I'm like, how would you like to be able to sit in a stall with a computer in your lap and be able to work on a vehicle? I go, because I've seen that happen.
Yeah.
I've walked through a shop and a guy is sitting in a chair, drinking his coffee with a laptop in hand, and he's updating the car and working on it and getting paid to do it. Yep. And so are there still some traditional? Yeah, we still need diesel. We still need transmissions and things like that, but it is so different. I have dealerships, you could walk in, literally drop food on the floor, pick it up and eat it, because they keep it that clean.
Yeah. Tell me a little bit, we were talking before about how some of these students that go into that Ford Asset program, they all need sponsors. And I really liked your philosophy on how you you have the dealer identify that student?
So my role is to help dealerships locate talent. So that's how we work with schools. At Ford, we actually have three types of programs: MLR, FACT, and Asset. Asset is a 2-year program at a community college, and it is apprenticeship based. 8 weeks in class, 8 weeks in the dealership. Whatever you're learning in class is what you're doing in the dealership, and you have to have a mentor, and you have to have a sponsoring dealership. So in the past, the school gets a list of names, they work those names, and the school may go to a dealership and say, hey, I have a student for you. And it may or may not work out because there's no understanding of culture, there's no understanding of the student. So for me, I have taken that and kind of turned it upside down.
This is the disruptor part.
This is the disruptor part.
Yep.
We go into schools and I'm like, hey, you need to identify those kids. And I tell them when they come in, we do what's called 4 days. And I tell them, you need to bring 3 types of vehicles. You need to bring a diesel. You need to bring a WOW, a GT, a Mustang or something.
A Bronco, those are all the rage.
Yeah, Broncos as of late. And then you need to bring something, like an F-150 or something. And they always look at me and they always ask the one question: why am I bringing a diesel? You're bringing a diesel in because there's always one kid. There's 1 or 2 that they do not care about the wow factor. They don't care how loud that Mustang is. All they see is a diesel, and that's what they want to work on. And I get my dealerships to identify those kids because we need diesel techs.
Yep.
When that student walks to that diesel, I look at my dealer, I said, you need to go talk to that kid. And that's
eyes light up, right?
Yeah. And that's the disruptor part of me, because I don't really talk to kids. I have a little spiel I do, but I tell them all. A student will walk up to me and ask me questions, and I will walk them to the service manager or GM or whoever and go, hey, they have a question for you. I don't have a job to provide them. My dealers do. And so I'm getting my dealerships used to talking to students and students used to talking to dealers, but we're at the school where the student feels comfortable and has their teacher there.
Yeah.
But anyway, back to assets. So I saw a squirrel and I ran
That's all right. That's all right. I love it.
So with asset, that's what we started doing. The other thing that we do is I look at them and I say, look in your quick lane. Is there a tech in your quick lane who's showing promise, who you would be willing to part with for 2 years for them to go and do this? And they could be in this, and in 2 years they come out 95% certified, as compared to if you send them the traditional way, it may take 8 to 10 years. And it is like under 20,000 compared to 60 or 70,000 to send them to the training center.
Yeah.
You have hotel, you have food, you have their salary. So I am teaching them to disrupt themselves and get out of the mindset of, well, I need them. No. Do you need them or do you want them in the future? Right. Because if you provide them a future and a path, they're going to stay because they get to buy into the culture. And so that's how it works better with retention, because they're identifying them in a high school or in another trade school program, and then they're able to bring them in and get them into the culture.
And I think that's so important, right? Because we spend a lot of time recruiting, and then once we get that, young entry-level tech in and they don't like the culture, then they're kind of dead in the water and you're back at, the beginning. So to have that dealer identify the student early on and show interest and support of that student's career path, that is huge. What student wouldn't love that?
Yeah. And that's what I try to get them to understand. It's like, teach them the career path. The other thing that we do and here's where I'm a disruptor again, is when I'm in there talking to students, I go, hey, some of you will not want to turn wrenches.
Mhm.
We need advisors. We need parts people, and all are very good careers. I go, and in the front of the house, there are things that you can do in front of the house if that's what you choose to do. Also, one thing that I have started to do that disrupts the pattern, I bring my field team with me. Field service engineers, they help dealerships when a vehicle is down. They help them, the technicians, with training. They get equipment and parts, or equipment and tools, and make sure that our dealerships are working efficiently to help our customer. I bring zone managers who work with service managers and in how marketing tire sales. And
You bring in the
so
squad, huh?
I bring in the squad.
Yeah.
I might bring in a top manager. I might bring in the region manager who is over all of it. I might bring in the TSOM who is over the FSCs. I might bring in the PSOM over the zone managers.
Yeah. Well,
and
what's great about that is it shows the students that there are many different career opportunities within
exactly
a dealership environment, even regionally, for an OE, there's lots of different opportunities.
Yes. I try to teach them, here is what it looks like. The one thing you need with each of these is education, and it looks really different. I tell them, even if you go take over your mother and father's business, there's an education, because you can't just walk in. I, as Marcus, can't walk into a family business and go, I'm here now, and this is the way we're going to do it. Mom and dad are going to say, no, this is how we've done it. This is how we build our base. Here's what we do. There's still education behind it. So it looks different for everybody.
Yeah. So is there any other disruptive things you want to share with us today?
I'm very good at disrupting administrations.
Oh, right. Yes. Do tell that story.
So, my biggest thing, I've walked into a couple of situations where I had to inform everybody in the room what was going on. My background is higher ed. So for 20 years, I was in higher education. I taught, I did enrollment management. I was the director of admissions. I worked in admissions. I coached college basketball at NAI and junior colleges and men's and women's. So I understand that world. A few years back, I was sitting in an advisory meeting. The president and vice president of academics march in, and they're very proud of themselves. And anyone who's ever been around an administration knows. So you always have a few administrators that you're just like, can't stand to see that guy, but you have to work with them. They walk in and they talk about how they cut a program and stood up an online program and doubled their enrollment and the money that they made and generated off of it. And when they finished, they got up and they walked out and they were really proud of themselves. And I looked over and the session was being recorded, and I told them, turn that off. And they kind of looked at me, they're like, what? I said, turn it off. I got something to say. And so they turned it off, and I looked at the room that was full of dealer principals, general managers, fixed ops directors, as well as the teacher and the instructor and somebody else that was on campus. I said, they just walked in and threatened to shut down this program. Because you guys are from automotive, you don't understand that. I'm from the world. I go, they just threatened to shut down this program if you guys don't fill the seats. So I'm telling you right now, if you don't start bringing students in here, this program will not be here.
Right.
And so I put that charge out to them, and the instructor later on was like, thanks. And
I bet he was.
Oh yeah. A year later, I get a general manager or dealer principal, I can't remember what, he stopped me. He goes, you told us to fill that class and we did it. And I go, good.
Yeah.
So that was one of the things. Another huge disruptor story, we have what's called Ready for Retail. And so all the dealerships in the region come in, and it's this 4-hour meeting, and I get like 10 minutes of their time out of this big meeting. And I get up and I just go to task and I go, if you're still poaching and stealing technicians, you're doing it wrong. And I challenge you to challenge me. I go, and I brought in some asset instructors. I go, if you're not using those programs, you're not doing it right. So I took that big group to task, and it was one of those things where this past year, I have 3 programs that started, and we started about 60 students.
Wow.
Throughout the asset. That's 60 new technicians who are going to be in the field working. So that is kind of what I do. But the cool thing is, there's 22 of us that are out there doing what I do. So don't, before you sit and go, oh, wow, Marcus is this. No, there's my teammates, I work with some awesome teammates. You know, we work military, we work trade schools, we work high schools. So we have all this wide variety of people who are throughout the country who are doing this, because Ford Motor Company, Frederick Tony, who is the mastermind behind this, he's one of the, I don't even want to try to attempt to look at what his title is or say what his title is. All I know is he's high up. Frederick is high up in the Ford Motor Company, and this was his brainchild. And because he came up with that, this is kind of where we are, and it's an awesome space that my teammates and I are in.
Well, thank you so much for sharing all of your disruptiveness. I really appreciate it. And you know, I'll link this, or I'll include you on LinkedIn, and then people can reach out to you directly.
Yep, feel free. As long as you're not trying to sell me Bitcoin, we're good.
Okay, I promise. Thanks, Marcus.
Thank you.
Hold tight.
All right.